Don't open that door, no matter what you hear tonight. That was the last thing Emily's grandmother ever said to her. Her voice still echoes in Emily's mind, years later, like a whisper clinging to the walls of that old house. She can still see the way her grandmother's fingers trembled as they clutched Emily's wrist, nails digging into her skin, eyes wide and glassy, with a fear that didn't make sense for a woman lying in a hospital bed. "Promise me," her grandmother had breathed, her lips dry, her breathing shallow. "If you ever go back to that house, don't open that door." At the time, Emily thought it was just confusion. The doctors said her grandmother was drifting in and out, mixing memories and nightmares. So Emily smiled, kissed her forehead, and said the words people say when they don't believe they'll matter. "I promise." She didn't know that promise would follow her for the next 18 years. Now, standing in front of the house again, Emily realizes that some promises rot when you bury them, and some promises grow teeth. The house looks smaller than she remembered, but somehow heavier, as if the air around it had thickened like old dust. Faded blue paint peels from the wooden boards, revealing gray, splintered veins beneath. The windows stare back at her with a dull, dirty reflection of the cloudy sky, like tired eyes that haven't closed in decades. Emily swallows, adjusting the strap of her bag on her shoulder. It's just a house, she tells herself. Old wood, old memories. Nothing more. But the moment she steps through the gate, the wind drops. The air goes still. Too still. Silence presses against her ears in a way that feels wrong. No birds. No distant car passing. No buzzing of insects. Just the creak of the gate protesting as it swings shut behind her with a click that sounds uncomfortably final. Her hand tightens around the key. It's the same brass key her grandmother used to keep on a chain around her neck. The chain was curled like a question mark on the bedside table when the nurses called Emily to the hospital that last night. The key was the only thing in the house the lawyers said belonged to her outright. Everything else was complicated. Old family property. Old arguments. Old secrets. And this house was the oldest secret of all. 18 years. 18 years since Emily had last crossed this yard. She was 11 the last time she ran along this path, kicking up dirt, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders, and her grandmother calling from the porch to slow down before she fell. Back then, the house smelled like cinnamon and fabric softener. Back then, the shadows didn't feel like they were watching. Now, as she climbs the 3 cracked steps to the front door, she can feel the weight of the years hanging over her like dust thick on a forgotten photograph. The door is the same deep brown, a little more faded, a little more scratched. The brass handle is cold under her fingers, colder than it should be for a late afternoon. She slides the key into the lock. It goes in too smoothly, like it's been waiting. The tumblers click. The door opens. The smell hits her first. Stale air, old wood, something faintly sweet and rotten beneath it all, like flowers left too long in water. Emily coughs, waving a hand in front of her face, and steps inside. The floorboards creak under her weight, complaining in long, drawn-out sighs. The living room is just as she remembers, like someone hit pause on a memory and never pressed play again. The old floral sofa. The wooden coffee table with the glass top. The crocheted doilies on every surface. A small television in the corner, thick and boxy, a relic from another decade. Dust lies over everything like a thin gray shroud. Emily closes the door behind her, and the sound echoes through the house, bouncing off empty rooms like a knock answered by no one. For a moment, she just stands there, listening. Silence. Her chest tightens with a mix of nostalgia and unease. She told herself she came back for practical reasons, because the lawyers insisted the property couldn't remain untouched forever, because repairs were needed, because maybe she could sell it and finally pay off some of her debts. But deep down, she knows that's not the only reason. She came back because of the door. Not the front door. The other one. The one at the end of the hallway upstairs. The one no one ever used. The one her grandmother always kept locked. The one she wasn't allowed to even touch. 18 years is a long time to be told don't open that door, and not wonder why. Emily walks deeper into the house. Her footsteps echo louder than they should. She passes the old photos on the wall, family portraits in frames that look heavier than the smiles inside them. There's her grandmother, younger, standing next to a man Emily barely remembers, his hand resting on her shoulder. Her grandfather, dead before Emily could form a memory of his voice. There's another photo, smaller, tucked slightly behind a larger frame as if someone tried to hide it but didn't want to throw it away. Emily pulls it forward. In the faded photograph, her grandmother stands next to a door. Not the front door. A different one. Narrow. Dark. The frame is slightly crooked, as if whoever was behind the camera snapped the picture in a hurry. Her grandmother's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Emily feels a chill crawl up her arms. She puts the picture back. In the kitchen, she runs her fingers along the counter, leaving clean streaks in the dust. The old kettle still rests on the stove, cold and dull. The fridge hums faintly when she opens it out of habit, but it's empty except for a single cracked ice tray and an old magnet on the door that reads, "Home is where the heart is." She closes it quickly. "Okay," she murmurs under her breath, though there's no one to hear. Just a house. Just memories. The words don't convince her. She climbs the stairs, each step groaning under her weight. Her fingertips trail along the wooden handrail, feeling every nick and scratch. At the top of the staircase, the hallway stretches out before her, dim and narrow, lined with doors. Her old bedroom is the first on the left. The door is slightly ajar, as if the room has been waiting for her. Across from it, the bathroom door is closed. At the far end of the hallway, partially swallowed by shadows, stands another door. That door. It looks the same as always. Plain, white, a little too narrow, with a brass handle that's a different style from the others, like it was added later. The paint around the frame is slightly darker, as if it's been touched up more often. There's no lock on the outside. There never was. Yet it was always somehow locked. Her heart beats a little faster. She forces herself to look away and steps into her childhood bedroom instead. It's like a museum exhibit of her younger self. The bed with a faded purple blanket. The desk in the corner. The bookshelf with the same row of worn paperbacks and fairy tale collections she used to read before bed. Stories of cursed forests and wicked queens and children who wandered into places they shouldn't. Her gaze drifts to the far corner of the room, where the wallpaper is slightly bubbled. She remembers pressing her hand there as a child, feeling the hollow echo behind it. She used to imagine there was another room behind the wall. A secret place. A hidden world. Her grandmother had always been quick to pull her hand away. "Some doors shouldn't be found, Querida," she would say, smoothing down the wallpaper with a stiff, worried hand. "Some things stay closed for a reason." Emily moves to the window and pulls back the curtain. The sky outside is already darkening, heavy clouds swallowing the sunset faster than they should. She hadn't realized how late it was. "Just one night," she whispers to herself. "I'll stay one night, make a list of repairs, talk to the lawyer on Monday, and then I'll leave." Lightning flashes far off in the distance, a thin white vein across the sky. Her phone buzzes in her pocket, startling her. She pulls it out and sees a message from her younger brother, Lucas. "You got there okay?" She types back. "Yeah. House is still standing. Just dusty." The bubbles appear. Then his reply. "You're really staying there alone? You know how that place was for her?" Emily hesitates, then answers. "It's just a house. I'll be fine." A pause. Then Lucas writes, "If you hear anything weird, don't try to be brave. Just leave. You know she saw things there." Emily frowns at the screen. Their grandmother had been a lot of things in her later years, forgetful, paranoid, obsessed with certain routines. But seeing things wasn't something they talked about. Not really. It lingered between them, unspoken, like the house itself. She types, "What do you mean saw things?" No reply. The signal flickers to one bar, then none. The little icon in the corner spins, searching, but finds nothing. No service. Of course. She locks the screen and slips the phone back into her pocket, pushing down the uncomfortable twist in her chest. It doesn't matter. She wasn't planning to stay up all night texting anyway. She'd brought a flashlight, some snacks, and an old sleeping bag.
It would be fine.
Strange. Uncomfortable.
But fine.
That's what she tells herself, at least. She heads back into the hallway. The light bulb overhead flickers, buzzing faintly like an insect trapped in glass. Shadows shiver along the walls. The air feels cooler here, the kind of cold that doesn't come from lack of heating, but from somewhere else, something else. Emily rubs her arms. Her eyes drift, inevitably, to the door at the end of the hallway. Her grandmother's voice rises in her mind again, clear as if she were standing right behind her. Don't open that door. Emily takes a slow breath. She isn't planning to, she tells herself. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. She's just looking. There's nothing wrong with looking. There's nothing wrong with standing halfway down the hall, staring at the door, and wondering why the wood around the handle looks slightly more worn, like fingers have clutched it in moments of panic. There's nothing wrong with walking a little closer. Her feet move of their own accord, floorboards creaking under each step. She stops halfway, heart thudding dully in her ears. The door doesn't move. It doesn't breathe. It doesn't whisper. It's just a piece of painted wood. Still, she can't shake the feeling that the house has gone even quieter. Like it's listening. She forces out a shaky laugh. What? You think the door's going to talk to you now, she mutters, more to herself than anything. The sound of her own voice is strangely small in the hallway. The light overhead flickers again, then steadies. Emily takes one more step forward. Just as her foot lands on the board in front of the door, a sudden, sharp sound cracks through the silence. A knock. 3 short, crisp knocks from the other side. She freezes. The hair on the back of her neck stands up. For a moment, she wonders if she imagined it, if her brain, already wound tight with memories and fear, just filled in the silence with what it expected. Then it happens again. 3 knocks.
Clear. Precise.
Close. This time, there's no mistaking it. It came from inside that room. Emily's mouth goes dry. Her hand instinctively reaches for her phone, but she remembers the dead signal. Her fingers stop halfway, hovering uselessly in the air. No, she whispers. That's not possible. The house is empty. It has been for years. No one's lived here. No one should be behind that door. No one should be knocking. She forces herself to step back, the floorboard complaining under her heel. Another knock. This time, slower. Almost impatient. Her heart slams against her ribs, so hard it hurts. Hello. The word slips out of her before she can stop it, a shaky breath pressed into a shape.
She doesn't know why she speaks.
Maybe because silence feels worse. Maybe because some part of her still believes in rational explanations, that it's pipes, or wood settling, or some echo she doesn't understand. The house does not answer. But something else does. From behind the door, so close it might as well be whispering directly into her ear, a voice speaks. It is low, distorted by wood and time, but undeniably human. Emily? Her name. Spoken from a room that has been locked as long as she can remember. Spoken by someone who shouldn't be there. Her stomach drops, as if the floor has opened under her feet. She staggers backward, hands shaking, fingers slick with sweat. Her mind scrambles for explanations. Is it a trick, a recording, someone in the house she didn't know about? The voice comes again, closer, almost pleading. Emily, open the door. Her grandmother's last words crash over the memory like a wave of ice. Don't open that door, no matter what you hear. Her throat tightens. Whoever or whatever is behind that door knows her name. Knows she's here. Knows she's listening. The lights flicker once more. Longer this time, plunging the hallway into a near darkness where shapes blur and shadows stretch. For a heartbeat, Emily could swear she sees something move under the door, a shifting of darkness too slow, too deliberate to be a trick of the eye. When the light sputters back to life, the line of shadow is still there, thicker than before. The voice speaks again, softer now, almost gentle, almost familiar. Please. I've been waiting 18 years. The air feels thinner, harder to breathe. Each inhale scratches her lungs with a brittle taste of dust, and something else, something metallic and old. Emily turns away. She doesn't run. Not yet, but every instinct in her is screaming at her to get away from that door, from the voice, from the house itself. She stumbles back toward the stairs, gripping the railings so hard her knuckles turn white. Behind her, the knocking starts again.
Not slow now.
Not patient.
Faster.
Harder. Desperate. Emily, open the door. The sound chases her down the hallway, banging against her spine with every step. She reaches the top of the stairs and nearly trips, catching herself against the wall. The knocking doesn't stop. It only grows louder, filling the narrow corridor with a frantic rhythm that makes her vision blur. She forces herself down the steps, each one a clumsy, stumbling slide. When she reaches the bottom, the sound is slightly muffled by distance, but still there, still pounding, still calling her name. She rushes into the living room and grabs her bag, hands shaking, fingers fumbling with the zipper. Her breath comes in short, sharp gasps that burn her throat. She needs to leave. She needs to get out. Out of the house. Out of the silence. Out of the reach of that voice. Her fingers close around the cold metal of the front door handle. And then, the knocking stops. The house falls completely still. Emily's hand lingers on the handle, frozen. Silence stretches out, thick and unnatural. No wind. No distant traffic. No creak of wood. Not even the soft hum of the refrigerator anymore. As if the house itself is holding its breath. Slowly, very slowly, Emily lets go of the door. She turns her head toward the staircase, heart pounding in her ears. She tells herself she's just making sure.
Just checking.
Just confirming that it really stopped, that she isn't going crazy, that she didn't imagine the whole thing. The staircase is empty. The hallway above is a dim tunnel of yellow light and shadow. The door at the end is out of sight from here. Her phone buzzes again in her pocket, but she doesn't look at it this time. She doesn't want to take her eyes off the stairs. Another sound drifts down from above. Not knocking. Not a voice. Something else. A slow, deliberate scrape. Like metal against wood. Like a lock turning from the inside. The scrape of metal against wood traveled down the hallway, like something waking up after a long sleep. Emily froze, gripping the front door handle as her heartbeat pounded in her ears. That sound wasn't random or old wood settling. It was intentional. A final click echoed through the house, hollow and precise. The lock had been undone from the inside. Silence swallowed everything again. No more knocking. No more voice. Just the weight of that click pressing on her chest. Emily pulled her hand from the door, fingers shaking, and forced herself to look back toward the staircase. The door at the end of the hallway was no longer locked. Instead of leaving, Emily drifted into the living room, as if the house itself refused to let her go. On the coffee table, her grandmother's old photo album waited beneath a layer of dust. She opened it with trembling hands. The first pages were harmless. Birthdays, holidays, old smiles.
But the photos soon changed.
The angles grew strange, focused on the staircase, the hallway, and that narrow door. One picture showed her grandmother standing beside it, lips pressed tight, eyes wide with fear. Emily felt her stomach drop. Whatever waited behind that door wasn't new. It was something the house remembered. Emily climbed the stairs again, slower this time, each step creaking beneath her like old bones. The hallway seemed narrower than before, the light dimmer, the air colder. At the far end, the narrow white door waited, no longer rattling or pleading. It didn't need to. It had already called her once. She reached the door and pushed it open. Inside, the room was small and bare, lit by a pale, gray light that had no source. A single wooden chair sat in the center. On it, a girl, no older than 11, stared back at her. Bare feet, tangled hair, and wide, dark eyes that held far too much understanding. Emily's breath faltered. She knew that face. Those eyes. That quiet, trembling fear. It was her. The girl tilted her head. "You came back." Emily stepped closer, heart pounding against her ribs. "What are you?" she whispered. The younger version smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm the part you left here. The part that was too scared.
Too angry.
Too lonely." She swung her legs lightly, like it was a game. "Grandma tried to hide me." She locked the door. But the house remembered. Emily swallowed hard, tears stinging her eyes. "I didn't mean to leave you." "Yes, you did," the girl said gently. "You had to. Or you wouldn't have survived." She slid off the chair, standing toe-to-toe with Emily, small hand reaching out. "But now you're old enough to take me back." Emily hesitated, then nodded. Their hands touched. Warmth flooded through her chest, sharp and overwhelming, like a breath she'd been holding for 18 years finally released. The room dimmed, then dissolved. When Emily stepped back into the hallway, the door was gone. And for the first time since childhood, she felt whole.